Oh, no, 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 no.
Well, hello, nail bosses. This is Carol. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. And please consider sharing with a friend and don't forget to like and subscribe. So today I am going to be doing a new set. This one is going to be put on a little bit more permanent. I am going to be utilizing some nut polish, some Entourage hair gallery. Some Entourage nail gallery, some Yakelin Acosta, and we are going to create a set. It's getting closer and closer to the holidays, and as you guys know, I work both in the salon and at home, and so I'm a little bit busy in the salon, so my videos might be slowed up a little bit, but I'm still on the job. So I went ahead and pre-selected my tips. I apply them, cut them into shape, and file them into the desired shape that I wanted them to. So I did all that pre-work off camera. It does take me a little bit of time when I'm doing the stilettos to pre-shape them. And so I did it off camera. I didn't want this video to go on and on and on and on. But I picked up right here at the point of applying the Not Polish Triple X bond. And whenever I apply primer, I don't care which brand it is, I like to apply two. Don't ask me why, I just do. Especially if I don't have a dehydrator, I will do it twice. That's the reason why I do it. So one application would act as a dehydrator and the other one would actually bond. So I'm not sure if applied to the natural nail only before any nail extension service. It doesn't say on the bottle to do it twice, but that's something I do with the young nails. They recommend that you do it twice, and so I just practice doing that, all right? You feel free to do it anyhow you would like to. So this set will be on a little bit more permanent. I will be shooting all my commercials and my New Year videos, and I needed my nails to be ready for that purpose. I have multiple YouTube channels, and so I'm busy. My head is spinning. So we did the 2 coats of the Not Polished Triple X bond. And at this point, we will be moving on to selecting the products that I'm going to be using. So as you guys know, I like to put down a clear layer before I actually apply the acrylic. And the reason for doing that is, one, I like to protect my prep, and two, if I'm using any type of pigmented powders, I don't want it to stain. And in this case, I will be using glitter, and when you put the glitter directly on the nails, those are hard to pick up. So for today, we will be using Entourage Nail Gallery Mix, which is a combination of Pink Panda and Clear mixed together. And I call that my mix or my natural. And we will be using Not Polish Monomer. And I believe I am also using my Not Polish Dapping Dish. Oh, and look, I'm also using a Not Polish brush in a size 12. How about them apples? So right here, nail bosses, I am actually playing tic-tac-toe. You know, guys know how I do it with where everything goes. This go here, that go there. So in comes my homemade hand rest. Y'all know I love that thing. It just gives me comfort, and it gives me the opportunity to rest the tendons in my hands while I'm working. They're not suspended into mid-air. So I went ahead and dipped my brush, and then I picked up a mix bead. When I say mix, I mean a mix of Clear and Pink Panda. And I am putting that down as my first layer. Once again, I like to do this to protect the integrity of my prep work. If I was working on a guest, that they don't touch the nail, as well as if I'm working with pigmented powder, to keep the powder from staining the natural nail. But in this case today, I will be, like I said, I will be using some, what do you call this stuff? Glitter powder. And I find it hard to, if I'm soaking off and the glitter is directly on the natural nail, it's quite challenging to remove it. So I'm just moving right along, right down all 10 nails. I also find that if you are trying to do natural nails and just some type of design at the tip, and not necessarily like a nude or a cover powder in the natural nail area, this mixture gives you a really good natural look. And I'm on the opposite hand, and I'm doing the same thing, just filling in a thin layer. As we move along here, this is some non-dominant hand work. So you will see that I'm working a little bit more slower and more deliberate in putting down the powder on the opposite hand. And I know you can't see my napkin, it's off the side of the camera, but I am wiping my brush every opportunity I get to do it, I do it. So even though you don't see me do it, right here it's being wiped and then into the monomer. My ring finger. Oops, I lost my bead. And this one came out a little bit bigger than I would normally use it. And it's self-leveling, so it's trying to level itself. It's a little bit on the runny side here. So we got to look out for the side walls and the cuticle that we're not flooded. And depending on what the guest desires are, will determine how thick I put that clear down. Because if I put it too thin and I try to go back down to it, it might be too thin. And if I intend to take it off and change the powder or something, I tend to put it a little bit thicker so I can get down to it. And still keep the nail from looking bulky. And just be careful to keep the side walls clean and the cuticles clean. So Income Entourage Nail Gallery. I'm looking for a place to put this stuff. It's just some glitter. And I'm taking up that first glitter bead and I'm putting it at the tip of the index finger on my left hand where the nail tip and my natural nail meet. And I don't want this to be very thick, so you'll see me patting at it a lot. And I'm flattening it down without leaving too much space in between. If you know what I mean. There was other nails that are going to be see-through, but I wanted this one to be pretty packed with the glitter. No visible spots. Take another bead, take a small one, and I'm going to lay this down right at the tip, like so. And guys, this is a nail bosses, I should say. This is a set that should be fairly simple enough for a fairly new nail tech beginner. You don't always have to do a lot of drawings and a lot of different things if you're not ready for that yet. Glitters is a great way to do nail art without having to have much nail art skills. Okay, so here it is. I'm putting in the Yakelin Acosta. What color is this? Flamingo. Beautiful. Just a nice sheer. It's not really sheer. It does have some pigments in it, but it's a powder that is user friendly. If you're doing nails for the first time, you're fairly new at doing it, and you need something that you'll be able to see. So when you're e-filing or hand filing, you can actually see where it's at the cuticle area. So I laid it down and I am pulling it forward, blending the two sets of colors together. And then I am going to take a little bit of the glitter and I'm just going to break it up right here so that it blends where the two powders came together. Fun stuff, guys. And then we're going to move on to the middle finger, and I'm going to do the same thing. I pick up a bead of the glitter, and I'm taking my time to place it to the right thickness and coverage that I need to the tip of the nail. Flatten it down, pull it forward. I wiped off my brush, picked up another bead, and I'm pulling it forward. And once again, I want full coverage on the tips on these. I wiped my brush off. I know you didn't see, but you're going to have to trust me that I did. And then I'm going to pick up some Flamingo. And I'm moving on to the other finger, which is the ring finger. And I am going to be working with this bead. It came up a little bit wetter than I wanted it. So that's why I'm playing with it right now so that it starts to harden and be a little bit more spreadable without spilling into places you didn't want it to go. Clean off my brush. I picked up another bead and I'm pulling it forward. And this nail is going to be different from the other ones in the fact that the entire nail is the Flamingo, and I am taking my time to push it up to the cuticles without flooding the cuticle. Very nice. At this point, I wanted some more variations, almost as if I was doing a, what do you call that? Freestyle. So I needed to use just the ingredients I have, but make it look different on each nail. And this time I'm peppering on just ever so gently some powder, the glitter powder, but I don't want full coverage on this nail. I think I started realizing that less is more. By the time I was finished with the whole process, I absolutely loved it. But I had to tell myself to trust the process, Carol. Right, so these are more spaced out. And then on the pinky finger, I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to do the entire nail pink, and then I'm going to put it on sporadically. Yeah, so I think I'm doing the flamenco on the pinky finger, and then I'm going to go in with the glitters on the end. Making sure you cover the acrylic powder on the entire nail to prevent lifting. And I'm building up the tip with a smaller bead. Forgive me for my hand going off screen there. And then I'm gonna pepper it on a little thicker than the one before, but not as solid as the previous ones. So if you're a beginner and you're trying to experiment with freestyling, this is a simple way to freestyle without panicking that, oh my gosh, they're not exactly the same. They don't have to be exactly the same. So I pick up a bead of flamenco and I am blending it in to the tip. And guys, that one came out perfect. When I'm looking at my nail right now as I'm doing the voiceover, I liked the way that one ended up showing up in the end. I am filling in the back, the cuticle area, taking my time not to flood the cuticle. And cleaning up any spillage that may happen. And I'm also tucking in the sides, otherwise I would have to hand file and e-file that little pregnancy on the side of that nail. And right here I'm just filling in any gaps. On the thumb, I wasn't sure, I couldn't remember if I had put down a clear layer there. So I am going to pause long enough to put a small bead there. When in doubt, put some more, which is what I did. I believe there was already powder there, but I had a little doubt, a little suspicion that I forgot to put the powder down. But really, I didn't want the glitters on the natural nails. I had to be for sure, certain that there was powder there. So I pick up a bead of flamenco and flamingo. Yes, flamingo. I always have a hard time saying that word, flamingos. Flamingos. Okay, so I put a bead of flamingos down, and I am putting it a bead close to the cuticle, and I'm gently pushing it backwards to the cuticle, but I have enough control over the powder that I'm not flooding. That was one of the hardest things for me. I was so afraid of touching the cuticle that I would put it so far away from the cuticle. And then when I would try to get closer to the cuticle, I would flood the cuticle and it will get too thick in the back and it will cause lifting. If you having that issue, I'm here to tell you this too shall pass, and you will get better at cuticle work. You just have to be very aware of what it is you're doing at the cuticle. So here it is. I pick up a bead of glitter and I am filling it in. And this one was filled in with some space in it. So you can see movement on the glitter, if you know what I mean. It's not dense. And while I'm doing the voiceover, I'm actually looking at the work and describing what I'm doing. And then I am picking up some mix powder and I'm going to encapsulate the glitters so that when it comes to hand filing and e-filing, we don't file the product away, as well as build thickness up at the front. I like to do a little less complicated work because if this is your first day as a nail tech, I'm picking up my acrylic brush and my powders and my monomer for the first time. I want you to be able to attempt something that is not so complicated that it frustrates you and you don't want to continue this journey. So I cleaned off my brush. I picked up another bead. I put it down in the center of my natural nail area, and I am tucking in the cuticle and pulling the product forward so I can blend it in. Making sure the sidewalls is clean, and if you're void of any product there, feel free to fill it in at this point, like I just did. Yes, indeed. And clean up your spillage. Alrighty. And I'm just going to go back and encapsulate all the rest of them. And when I mix these beads, I usually mix them a little bit looser than my working beads. The encapsulation beads is a little bit looser than the liquid to powder ratio is looser than the working beads, the ones that I'm actually putting down for structure. Looking really good. Isn't she pretty? Okay, I had to take a quick break to go and check on the fish sticks in the oven. But moving right along, what are we doing now? I have no idea what I'm waiting on. Come on. So we encapsulating. That's what we were doing. I have Alexa helping me cook. So she's keeping the time while I do the video, the voiceover. Pick up a bead, put it down pretty much where the glitter and the flamingo meets, and I'm pulling it forward. And we are using the Entourage Nail Gallery Clear. And as you all know, that is going to self-level for you all by itself. Look at that. I love that powder. It's like, what is the purpose of a clear? When you put the encapsulation down, you really want your encapsulation to be so smooth and self-leveling that it levels out evenly. And that's what I love about the Entourage Nail Gallery Clear. It does all of that for you. So once again, I put the bead down where the glitter and the flamingo meets, and then I'm pulling it forward. Now, if you would like, I'll leave the link in the description box where you can purchase the Entourage Nail Gallery Clear if you would like to do so. The clear or the mix. When I'm doing pinks, soft pinks, I actually like the mix powder or the pink panda because it would lend some tone to the nails. So for instance, if you're doing something that has a really light pink, instead of encapsulating with clear, I can encapsulate with either the mix powder, which is a slight mix, a half and half mixture of clear and pink panda, or I can do straight pink panda. It depends on how much tone you want to borrow from the encapsulating product. And on this one, the mix was just perfect to add a little bit of tone to the pink. The reason why I like to do that, to be honest with you guys, pinks is one of those colors that you're working with. When you put clear on top of to encapsulate, when you look at the nail from the side, you can almost see like a thick layer of clear on top of the work that you're trying to encapsulate. And I don't like that look. So that was the reason why we have the pink panda, we have the mix. You can choose how much tone you want to borrow from your encapsulating product, that it doesn't have that thick layer of clear on top of the nail. I hate that look. So apart from the fact that it is a great powder for beginners, it also has the ability to give you encapsulation without looking like you have a ton of clear on top of the nails. Once again, I will leave the link in the description box if you'd like to purchase some. Perfect shape. Love it. So now I am inspecting it to make sure that I'm happy with the job. And now we're going to go over to the opposite hand and repeat the process. Now, like I said, we're doing some freehand work here, so it doesn't have to be identical. And so I cleaned off my brush and I dipped it in the monomer and I picked up a small bead, which I'm fitting to the cuticle area of my nail without making the back thick. Sometimes when I'm doing non-dominant hand work, if it's out of control, you can get a really thick, ginormous cuticle area, and that doesn't help anybody. What do we got here? Some glitter. And we put it down right about right here. And then I'm going to spread it out. spread it out to the tip. And of course, I'm not using this to build up the thickness on the end. I'm just covering the tip. Then we're moving on to the index finger. And when I started doing this hand, I did not intend to do the index, the middle, and the ring finger exactly the same, but they pretty much came out the same on the non-dominant hand. But it adds character to the fact that, hey, it's glitter on the tip of the nail. And my freestyle is exactly that. It's free and fluid. So here it is. I'm putting the glitter on the tip. And I'm pulling it forward. And even though I didn't do like on the opposite hand, I had some nails that was pink the entire nail. It you have to be like seriously in the grill of the nails to see that the both hands are not identical. So I'm gonna let you just watch this hand, and then I'll jump back in when I think it's necessary. This is when I remembered, OMG, the other fingernails have two pink full length nails, and I was like, oh well, it is what it is, y'all. I'm putting ever so tiny little beads and just working them forward. If you have any questions at this point, please free to leave them your comments in the comment section. I will be very quick on answering them. Just making sure I fill it in nicely. And I'm filling in some glitters right here. And here I am putting a small bead to the back. And when I'm working with the non-dominant hand, I'm so deliberate. So I am cleaning my brush, dip it in the monomer. I'm picking up some product. Sometimes I can pick it up with my left hand, and there are times when I have to do it and transfer the brush. So that's a difference you may be seeing is the how I pick up on. So you just see me switch the brush to my right hand to clean it off and to pick up the product, and now I switch into the left hand to lay it down. And here we go again with the process. I don't know if you noticed a little bit of dry powder, but I managed to get it wet before I put it down. So if you're having a problem with dry beads, make sure you don't put dry beads down. It will show up in your work after it's dried. This used to be so hard for me to get that circular shape around the cuticle. Mine used to be square, triangular. I so enjoy looking at myself putting down cuticle beads now, where it has that nice uniform U shape around. Oh my God, it was horrible. Just the tip of the brush I'm using to work the product onto the nail so I can keep the brush clean. And I got this entire set done without getting the brush dirty. Still continuing encapsulation here. I can't wait to get into some hand file work with you. We're getting closer, guys. Yes, so we continuing with the encapsulation. At this point, I could pretty much tell myself, okay, this set is heading in the direction that I want it to go in. I am not overly concerned about anything other than keeping the product out of the cuticle area. And look how I'm using the brush to just kind of go over. I'm using the tip of the brush to help me keep the product where I want it. And then just the tip of the brush. I don't start using the belly of the brush until the product starts really hardening. And I know it's not going to get into the bristle of the brush. So while it's wet and semi-wet, I will always use the very tip of the brush. And as it starts to solidify and doesn't have the ability to mess up the bristles of the brush, that's when I use the body if I have to. See how I just use the tip to hold the product in place. Do you guys work with a hand rest when you are working on yourself? If you do, please let me know what you use for a hand rest. Do you find it advantageous to have one? I tend to make one because I like mine to switch them out depending on what I'm doing. So I have them in multiple colors. You can tell the brush is clean. Pick up a bead with my dominant hand, transfer the brush to the non-dominant hand, and I'm trying to keep the cuticles clean. So I have to admit, I didn't do a whole lot of hand filing on this set with the exception of sharpening the sides. This set pretty much went down relatively smooth, so I didn't have a whole lot of hand filing to do on this one. Very nicely done. Yes, so once again, this part here, the reason why I'm so silent, it's just really encapsulation. So I really want you to observe what's happening. Sometimes when I direct your attention, you probably will only see what I'm directing your attention to other than anything else that's going on. So when I'm quiet, it gives you the ability to see and have your brain record what you need for you at the time and not what I'm directing you to see. Clean your brush off. Guys, the brush is so clean that when I wipe it, it's just a quick wipe. There isn't anything on the brush, but just to stay in practice of cleaning, keeping the brush clean. And that's a testament also to the fact that the Entourage Nail Gallery product, as long as you're working it the way you're supposed to, will not mess up your brush. We put in a bead in the center. And my pinkies are relatively, the nail is relatively smaller than the actual other fingers. So a little bit of product goes a long way on my pinky. And right here, I'm just trying to build up the thickness. So Entourage Nail Gallery product played nicely with everybody else. So at this point, I'm just cleaning up my work area, getting rid of the stuff that I would no longer be needing at this stage in the game, and giving myself a good place to enough space to start retrofitting these nails to my fingers. Okay, so moving right along, I have a new nut polish hand file. So I'm just scoring it so that the sharp edges of the hand file does not cut myself, or if I was working on a guest, I didn't cut my guest. So right here, I'm just reshaping the nails now that it has the acrylic powder mixture on it. And I am going to file them into shape, all 10 of them, and then I will start e-filing to fine tune the job. And I'm going up underneath the nail just in case there's any product stuff there. And then I will lean the file close to the side, and then my file turns straight up and down. See where underneath it, and then it turns to straight up and down. Yes. Yesterday on the video that I shoot yesterday, I was like, y'all know my favorite file is a hand file is a 8080. And I recently started using the nut polish hand file, and it's a 100 zebra. So I was just like, this is not going to do well. I'm not going to like it. And I tried it. I'm in love with it. And I'm here to tell you, I know that they put some voodoo in that hand file because it's a serious hand file. Guys, I was joking when I said that. I don't know that they put voodoo in there. I'm just saying. It's that good. At this point, I'm really just trying to recapture the shape of the nail. After you apply the acrylic, you lose some of the sharpness of your job. If you all hear a little filing, that's because I am filing my nails. I found a little imperfection. Y'all don't be like me. This really ruins your life. Really ruins your life. Being so OCD, everything has to be. I live my life like a pencil with an eraser on both sides. I'm always erasing something. And most people be like, "Oh, it's perfect," and I'm like, "No, but I can see so and so wrong with it." So I'm using the hand file. Like I said, I didn't use it much. I opted for the sanded man instead. I did a little bit on the thumb, and I was like, this is for the birds. So here I decided to hand file. E-file. Yesterday we retired my Melody Susie. The handpiece was making so much noise. I'm quite sure if I find another brand of the Melody Susie, I can still use the base, but the handpiece is dead. And that handpiece, I had it custom made, so I'm not getting rid of that. So let's see if I can see how much RPMs I'm running at. I want to say 12 to 14 is my regular speed. And this is where my girlfriend and I was just going back and forth, and she was like, what did she say? She said something, it was funny. I can't remember right now. So I'm going around the cuticles, and I'm using a sanding band mainly because it gives me confidence when I'm working on myself. I don't use it necessarily on the guests, but for myself, it keeps me from cutting myself if my bits are sharp. So yeah, I am about to, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing right there. So at this point, excuse me, I am about to reshape using the e-file, and of course my hand is off screen a little bit. So I'm going around the cuticle area and making sure that area is sealed properly. It's free from sticking to my skin. And right here has a little bit of pregnancy. That's what the best I can say. It's a little bulgy on the side. And I want to work that out and make sure everything is proportioned to each other. E-filing was one of those things that when you're learning, you have to know the right speed to go at for each step of the way. So at this point, I tend to run my e-file a little faster. So I can't see the e-file right now, but usually I run the e-file right here around 14,000 RPMs. And that way it will smooth itself over the nail without jumping, without the file jumping or stopping, for that matter of fact. I'm feeling it for smoothness on the side. And guys, forgive me. Sometimes the way I'm sitting, I really can't see. So when you see these little pauses, I'm kind of looking up to see if my hand is where it's supposed to be. And sometimes I really can't tell, the bright lights in my face. But in any event, that's what I'm doing right now. And cuticle work, as you guys can see, I'm using a sanding band. When I work on myself, just for comfort and for making sure that I don't cut myself, a sanding band would work. So if you do not want to cut yourself and you're still in the learning phase, it works just as fine as using a bit. Of course, when I'm working on the guests, I would use a bit. And there's no shame in my game. I just don't want to be cut. Besides, I work with a whole bunch of chemicals and stuff like that. And, if I have nicks on my fingers and stuff, it will burn. So I just err on the side of caution. It's not that I can't do it. I do it all the time. I love to use a tornado bit. But if you're learning and you're having a hard time, it's like training wheels. So do what you have to do to learn the motions, and once you figure it out, then you can graduate to whichever bit suits your fancy. And as you guys can see, my hand is popping off. I was considering whether I should cut that out or not, but I decided to leave it in because it is part of the process. Yes, so I'm bringing my hand back because I just looked up and realized that I'm a little bit off. Just enough to be annoying. Comments, suggestions, please leave them in the comment section. I love getting messages from you guys, and I look forward to them throughout the day. So leave a message, and I'll be happy to answer you. Hopefully when I switch to the other hand, I stay a little bit more focused on the camera. So I'm taking a good look at it, from all angles just to make sure that I am seeing everything. Because sometimes if you're looking from one direction, you can see it might look perfect, and then you look at it in a different angle and it looks like you can do some work on it. So look at it from every angle. Make sure that you're happy with what you're seeing. I also feel it with my hands to make sure. Okay, come on, Carol, pull your hands back. There we go. And I'm just basically doing the same thing, going around the cuticles. Make sure it's sealed, there's nothing touching the skin. And usually I run my e-file on both forward and reverse. When I switch hands, I usually run the e-file on reverse. At this point, I don't think I did put it on reverse, and I can tell I didn't because of the resistance. I can see from the e-file on my, how the e-file is working on my, or it's either that or the speed is probably a little bit too low. So if you find like you're getting resistance, it could be that your speed is too low, or in my case, it's not, I'm not running it on reverse when I switch hands. Okay, I can tell you exactly what's happening here, guys. At this point, my cousin, who just had a baby who's a week old today, called me, and I am actually baby watching on WhatsApp on my other phone while I'm filing my nail, okay? He has a baby boy, Junior, and oh, he's too cute. Right now, he's doing that sleeping swaddled. I think that's how you call it. I don't have kids, guys. But where you put the baby's hands to their side and you wrap them up. I think it's called swaddling. So he's swaddled and he's sleeping a lot. If I try not to live my life with any regrets, and if I have any regrets at all in this life that God has blessed me with, is that I never had children. If I had it to do all over again, I'd have 10 of them or something like that. But I guess I can say that now that I don't have any, but they are such blessings. So I'm all gawking all over the baby. Oh, he's so cute. Who says we can't multitask? Because that's exactly what I was doing. Baby watching and e-filing my nails. That's exactly what I'm doing. The baby's so cute. So yes, once again, so we just making sure that you can see your the enhancement, your natural nail, and the enhancement, your natural nail, and your skin. You want to be able to see all three of those when you doing your sealing. That's how you know you got a really good seal. So you would see me pull back on the skin. If I have to pull back on the skin, it means it's too close. Something is touching. It's a little bit out of. So one time, guys, when I was learning to do my nails and I was struggling with the cuticle, I haven't done them in a long time. That's what it was. I hadn't done my nails in a long time, and I started getting back into doing my nails shortly after the pandemic. And I went in to get my toes done, and the lady was admiring my nails, and she goes, "Oh, your nails look so beautiful. You want to come work for me? You licensed?" I said, "Yes, I'm licensed. You want to come work for me?" "No, I have my own shop." And she says, "Let me see your nails. Cuticle, nails look good. Cuticle, not so good." So I started to go back and pay attention to my cuticle work, because, guys, your work could look really good and you don't have the cuticle work done. It's not really done. So here it is. I'm using my sponge hand buffer, my sponge buffer in the file form. I like it that way. I got big hands, and those little square block things don't really fit in my hands the way I would like them to. I do use them, but I would much prefer this one. Um, so right here, I am just really working on filing, not filing, but smoothing the surface of the nail. So this is something you have to pay attention to. When you use a sanding band to reshape the nails, to e-file the nails, the sanding band does dig into the acrylic work a little deeper than, say, your metal, um, your diamond bits, your ceramic, or your titanium bits. Okay, so pay attention to those scratch marks and buff them out really, really good. All right, you will get a nice shape with them, but it does tend to dig a little deeper into the acrylic than the other bits will do. And so at this point, you want to make sure that you buff out all the scratch marks that the sanding band. That's one downside to using a sanding band instead of a bit. So if you wondering why is she buffing so much, there's a reason why I'm buffing so much, is because the sanding band do cut into the nails a lot. Come on, Carol, put your hand back in place. There we go. And I buff the sides, I buff the top, I go around the cuticle. If you're still scared of the cuticle, this is a great way to do it. And that sponge buffer is 100, 180. So it will remove if you need it to. Oh, Carol, pull your hands back. There we go. All right, so the rough side, the 100 side will take some of that. It will remove bulk to a certain degree. It'll take longer, but it will definitely do it. So I'm buffing them up real good, going around the cuticles, checking underneath to make sure. When you're doing stilettos, when you file so much, you get a layer of acrylic plastic mixture on the bottom. So you want to make sure that's coming off. There are times when I went to get to the nail shop and got my nails done and they left that underneath there, and you got to pick that off. So I just use the buffer and buffer it and it will come right off. Sometimes I would run the e-file underneath it as well to pick up the debris that is underneath the nail. Right underneath there is what I'm talking about, the little stuff that is underneath the nail. Right there. And so when I'm doing my dominant hand, I can take my dominant hand and run the file over my hand. But when I use the non-dominant hand, you will see me using the right hand and I'm actually rubbing my hand against the file. That's okay. Yeah, you see like that? Instead of the file rubbing me, I'm rubbing the file. It's okay to do that. It's just a brain confusion happening when you are working on the opposite hand. So right now I believe I'm about to put some cuticle oil down so I can make sure I can see where the nail is, where my nail is sealed prior to washing my hand. I like to do that. This is a step you don't have to do, but I love doing it. That way I can see that the oil ran around my finger and the nail is completely sealed. And at this point, I'm going to go wash my hands and I'll be back to gloss it. And we're using the not polish gloss it. And once again, I put 2 coats of gloss. Ooh, look how brilliant and beautiful that is. If I would keep my hands where you can actually see the brilliance of what we just did. And once again, the powder was Yakelin Acosta with Entourage Nail Gallery Clear. And I think this time we used not polished monomer. Oh yeah. And then I will put the clear on all 5 nails, and then I will cure in my lamp for 60 seconds, and then I will repeat that process. Brilliant. Goes in for 60 seconds, and then I'm going to do it again. And I do that not because it's not brilliantly shining on the first one. You saw that for yourself. It was shiny. I did it because twice the shine is always better. So I use one sort of like a base coat and one as a top coat, basically. Ooh, those are sexy. Sexy. Yes, indeed. Very, very, very nice. In the lamp again for 60 seconds, and then I repeat the same process on my right hand. And guys, if that isn't sexy, I don't know what is. Okay? And as a beginner, I want you to appreciate your work, whatever level you're at. So I hadn't done nails for quite a few years. I would do one or two of my friends, but I really wasn't working on myself. And then the pandemic hit, and I had to get back to doing my nails. If I wanted to have nails, I would have to do it myself. We wasn't going into the shop. And oh Lord, the non-dominant hand would come out so ugly. Listen, I would wear my nails. Those were mine. And what I did, instead of taking them down, I would sit while I'm watching TV and I would work one nail at a time until I get it perfect. Okay? So I know in social media, everything is moving so quickly. There's a new set, there's new something to try. But at one point, I had my nails so thin on the bottom because I was always taking them off. You don't have to. Work with the set that you have. Learn to hand file them. Learn to e-file them. The same one that you may think is not perfect. You might be looking at this like, oh my God, this is so ugly. Then that is a perfect set for you to work on. Make sense? So take the polish off, take the gel off, work one nail, get that nail perfect, finish it, top coat it, work on the second one. Before you know it, you will figure out all the nuances of hand filing and e-filing on one set that you have, right? Continue to look for what other people are doing, but work on perfecting the set that you have. And so now I'm doing the reveal. So I'm doing some cuticle oil. And I was a little heavy-handed with the cuticle oil. But overall, I am totally and absolutely satisfied. Because it's a holiday and I'm YouTubing on multiple YouTube channels, and I am Instagram and Facebook and all of that type of stuff, these videos might not be as plentiful as I was putting them up on the nail section, but I'm still on the job, guys. And where I may fall off, I look forward to seeing what you guys are doing, keeping me in the loop. And this is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a holiday, it's a festive nail set without it being Rudy, Rudolph, Santa Claus, whatever. So for some of those clients that you have that may not want those type of things, but they're still festive, I thought they were beautiful. They had a brilliant shine. Today is Sunday and I cannot wait for Monday morning because my hands are ready. Isn't that beautiful? I'm taking pictures at the same time, guys. So yeah, so I'm absolutely and totally happy with it. I will try and link all the stuff that I used in the description box. And I hope you guys enjoy watching this video as much as I enjoy making it for you. Once again, any comments, please leave them in the description box. Please consider liking and subscribing and sharing with a friend. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.